Welcome to the Filmmaker Mixer Podcast, the podcast by filmmakers for filmmakers.
This episode is sponsored by Gemini Crown Tech, software for all of your production needs. Stay tuned for more information later in the show. Hello, everybody. This is the Filmmaker Mixer Podcast, and today we chat with director Angela Barnes and cinematographer Alison Kelly. They collaborated on Marvel's Ironheart, so we're looking forward to chatting with them about all their creative decisions. So, folks, welcome.
Thanks.
Happy to be here.
Yeah, well, we're happy to chat with you, and I'm curious, is this the first thing you've collaborated on? And if so, how did you two connect on the project? Alison, you go first.
I met Angela many years ago on a project in Atlanta that she was the first AD on. And the second she walked into my office, I was like, oh my gosh, this is someone I'm going to be friends with. Like, she was just so lovely. And then on that show, she bumped up to direct. And it was like a fast friendship. But we haven't had an opportunity other than like during the pandemic, right? We did
social distance, yeah. Which is all done from our living room, so it's a little different.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So when she reached out to see if I could do this, I was over the moon, needless to say.
Yeah.
Just because it seemed like a great opportunity.
And it's weird because, like, as friends, we don't talk. I mean, we would talk about like restaurants and boys. We wouldn't talk about necessarily like, we talk about movies and stuff too, but we wouldn't necessarily get into the nitty-gritty of work because we were regular friends, not just work friends. So when it came time to do it, I was like, you know what? I know what she's like, and I know what she likes and what she doesn't like, but I've never had like an in-depth conversation about like, because, we work on a show, The Quad is a show where the look is already established. So there's not really a lot of discussion other than like, how are we going to shoot it versus like, what is the language of the whole show and how can we create that, And so, it's Marvel, so they just won't let us bring in whoever we want. They give us a list of people they make us meet. And I'm like, I'd like to work with Alison. They're like, well, we got to meet her. And she blew everybody out of the water in the meeting.
Oh, nice.
So it's like that I knew her and I brought her along. And I knew her, I brought her along, and she freaking clobbered everybody who came in to meet with us. So. And
Angela, you started out as a first AD?
I did.
And how did you make the transition to director?
Very carefully. It's just something my family grew up with no money. My parents did. And so
that makes you a good first AD.
It does because I grew up middle class. And when you have parents, I think, that grew up without money and then are in the middle class, it's almost like being a first gen American, where they're like, we didn't work this hard for you to be like a stand-up comedian. We didn't work this hard for you to go be a painter and find your bliss, get a job with benefits, and then you can do whatever you want in your free time. And so for me, I always wanted to be something in the industry. Being a director felt too artistic, in terms of what the kind of job I was supposed to get. And when I read about being a first AD, I was like, oh, that's a job with benefits. And so when I got it, and I loved it, but then when I started working with directors, like my first show, as a first AD, I was like, that's a job with benefits. And that's really the job that I want. So I did. I went to the producers and I was like, I want to be a director. Have you directed anything? No. But I will. I've done little small things, goofy stuff for my friends, but I haven't done anything like serious or whatever. And I impressed them enough as an AD that by season 3, they gave me an episode.
Nice.
Yeah.
So Angela, you mentioned, bringing on or, advocating to work with Alison for this show. Mm-hmm. I'm curious, once you guys started kind of diving into the story, and talking about how to shape it visually, emotionally, was there any kind of starting off bonding points, whether it would be like maybe a specific scene, like how you want to show the specific character or moment that kind of, just made a starting off point for your guys' relationship on this project?
I don't know. I think we kind of more talked about like, how do we want to feel? Like, not necessarily a specific scene, but overall, and just, looking at the story kind of in a bubble and then looking at the story amongst all of the things that Marvel has put out. And knowing that we wanted to shy away from the very kind of shiny Marvel stuff that's out there. I think wanting to make sure that it felt very grounded so that you have these fantastical experiences, but very grounded reactions to it. And so that it feels grounded, so that it feels believable. And I don't know, Alison was great about like, hey, let's watch this. Let's watch that. Let's like where we would just watch stuff and talk about what we liked, or shot deck, double shot deck, pulling images and stuff that, that made you, just even to get the job I already had. I mean, I literally, the pitch deck I did to Marvel was like a 95-page document that I had of images and stuff that I was like, and then I like this and this and this and this and this. So like there was already kind of a basis. But yeah, that's what I remember. It was, I mean, we shot this in 2022.
Yeah.
So it's been a while since we've been, like pull a lot of things up of like how did we do this?
The beauty of it was we had prep, and so like we could do a regular morning meeting where we would have coffee together and like just look at stuff or talk about stuff and like tackle a new scene or a new idea for a montage. And it wasn't like the Marvel world, they so want to make everything better that like we would pitch an idea for like a montage or a transition that on a regular TV show would have just been like, oh my gosh, we don't have money for that. But instead, we would have these great meetings with everyone in the special effects and stunts and VFX would come and we would all just figure out how to do it. And it was like it was such a great experience for us, I think, as a creative team because it was felt very supported for me.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Alison,
Yeah.
I'm curious about something. When you're going into a show like this that has such a brand, how do you bring a piece of Alison to this show to give it something that's unique to you? Does that make sense?
It
Yeah.
does, although I don't know if I think of my work, I feel like is so tied to story and directors that
Uh-huh.
like I don't need to like put my Allison on it, as it were. Like I feel like I what I want to do is just show up, and what I love about working with Angela is that she's so honest about like the story beats and like what really matters in a scene. And so I can like just go with that. Like if we were in a scene and she was like, I don't feel like we have this beat yet, or we need a shot, we need this angle of her looking at him. Like it's just like what I want is to make the best show, I think. And
Right.
so it's not the work in a world where like we're not leaving things on the set, like where you're not in the edit and then you end up seeing a cut that like doesn't really sell the story. Does that make
I
sense? I
think
don't
so.
know if
Yeah.
I,
And Angela, what about you when you're coming into a world that's so pre-built?
Well, I
How do you
mean,
tackle that?
I want to comment on Allison though. Allison leaves herself by being honest with how she lights it. She doesn't, I think the way that I direct is very similar to the way that we're not doing shit just so that looks cool.
Right.
Always tied into what the story is. And I think I've worked with, I'm an episodic television director. So I work with a lot of different DPs. I come to a show, I'm the guest. They're the people that are there and they, different people have different vibes and some people will light supernaturally. Some people light because they think it's or pushing to do really cool stuff because they get bored of doing the same kind of stuff every week.
Right.
And
Right.
my thing is it always has to stem from story, and she's really good for that. So, and same, I think Marvel was very. We had two different directors for the whole season, and Sam Bailey did episodes 1, 2, and 3. I did episodes 4, 5, and 6. But they brought both of us in at the very beginning to talk about what the sets are going to look like, who are we going to cast, like all that costumes, all that stuff, right? So, but when it came down to how to shoot it, they're like, "Y'all do you," and I was I'll be honest, when I got the job, like I'm a Marvel fan, so I was just like, okay, we heard the rumors, like they really hands on, they tell you what to shoot, they don't even let you do that to weigh in on the visual effects sequences and the stunts, they just do that, you're only like doing the talking stuff. And that was not my experience at all. And we got in there and I was storyboarding. I mean, when we first started storyboarding that White Castle fight, we didn't even have a production designer yet.
Oh, wow.
And so like I literally went online and was Googling layouts for, fast food restaurants and figuring out what it was so that way that people could start thinking about like, I think these would make sure that we start thinking about how to build it and stuff. So like, I don't know. I think in that way, they were very open with letting us kind of like, they're like, do you, a lot of beats. I mean, when the truck flips over her and she flips off Slug, that wasn't a scripted moment. That was me.
Really?
I think, yeah, I was like, she cannot like have the truck fly over and not flick this person off. And, and they're like, yeah, do it. Like, and that I was pleasantly surprised that anytime we had an idea that wasn't scripted, there's a lot of little beats, a lot of little moments that were not in the script. That I think that's my job as a director is to say like, hey, like you have this, but this is how we can make it even better. This is how we can plus it. This is how we can add another layer of,
yeah.
what's genuine and what's real,
And that's what you get from like also the prep of being able to like, I feel like we would talk about scenes like so many times that like you discover it's like an onion where you're like getting layers and layers of meaning versus like on a TV show where you have 8 days to prep an 8-day episode. You just are like in the trenches of like how do we cover this, and it ends up you don't have the prep to like put in all the work to do those sequences. Like the barrel roll scene with Zeke where he gets booked and it's in the jail was like such a long prep piece, but I think it's such a elegant way to like tell that story point that it's not the kind of thing you can execute on a regular episode. Also, it helped that we became good friends with the VFX team, which in a Marvel world is like, they touch probably 80% of the frames at least. And like they were so on board for our vision and so support us. And it was really a lovely collaboration with them. Different than other shows I've been on, because sometimes they're so siloed in their own world and they're rarely like in the same meetings. And then when you meet, it's like, oh, what? We need this, you need that. And then, but this one was like, we were just so
Yeah.
all chatting about the best way to make it awesome.
And they were just lovely. Like everybody was just lovely. Like that helps so much. People don't talk about that enough, I think, in our business. Like talent is great, but just being, having good energy when we're around you, like makes the creative process so much better.
Mhm. And you guys talked about it earlier about how you kind of wanted to have a different sort of look than most Marvel shows and films and stuff. And then you also talk about you being a Marvel fan, and you're probably very aware of the fan base. I'm curious how much pressure that may be put on you, how much that was in the back of your head, or was that something you just really had to push out of your brain and just make sure you're telling a good story?
I feel like you need to respect the fan base, but not necessarily listen to the fan base, because the fans will tell you stuff of what they want versus what the story needs. So as a fan, I was very respectful about like, I'm not going to rewrite this and I'm going to change it. I'm going to make this, like you can't take millions of dollars of, Kevin Feige's money and not respect the source material, right? But yeah, it's something that I wanted to make sure. I mean, I think like the truck flip is something that I was like, I want to see like this is something that's from the comics. Can I get something that's very referential to like so the people who know the comics can say, ah, she was paying attention. Or and the people who didn't are just like, oh, that's really cool the way she punched that truck and it flipped over, you know? But if I had it in my head, I mean, like, because there's some like rabid fans out there that if I listened to them, I would just crawl under a rock. So.
Well, Allison, I'm curious about something. Being a cinematographer is obviously an artistic endeavor, but it's also a very technical endeavor.
Yeah.
Was there a moment on the show or a particular scene that you really had to push technically to be innovative and get what you want? Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, it does. And I mean, there were many. The scene where we had the flashback, we wanted to do it so that the vision was like projected from the HUD, and so you saw the day exterior with little Riri and Gary dancing in the night scene. And I don't think that was immediately like everyone was sold on that just for money and schedule. The schedule was a real challenge just with all the different units, and we were still at the end of COVID, and just other stuff kept shaking it. The first AD's office was like a war zone, or that wall of the scheduling. Anyway, but that one I feel like we really had to lean into just like trying to figure out how to do that cost effectively, but also really beautifully, and I think it paid off. Um, but I don't think it was a really tricky thing to shoot. And I feel like just bringing the crew along that journey was not challenging, but like I think Angela and I saw it and we had like pre-visited enough that we knew what we were doing, but like just trying to get the specific shots and be like, no, she needs to step in here. But like we were shooting without actors in the physical places. And so that was um challenging, but the scene I think really has the emotional weight that we hoped it would.
Well, you mentioned schedule, and I don't want to get too much in the weeds here, but we have a lot of filmmakers who are coming up who are interested in television and what kind of Angela, we'll throw this to you. What kind of schedule did you have for prep and for each episode? Like days of shooting and
I
things like
had the
that.
best schedule I could. I will never have a schedule this great for the rest of my life. because I directed the back half, and the way that they divided up the shooting was most of 1 through 3 was during the beginning of the block, and most of mine. And there's a few things like the junkyard. We both had scenes there, so I would hop in early and do my scene there, but then I would have a few more weeks before. But the most of my stuff was backloaded. But I came in January in prep, and we didn't start shooting until what, June, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, so it was like soft prep, whatever, in January, and then kind of for real prep a little bit later. So I had months and months to prep my 3 episodes.
So are you saying you started your episodes in June, or episode one
No,
started
like
in
her
June?
episodes were in June. Mine started in like, what were we, like August, I think,
Okay.
when the weight of our stuff started.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it was funny because I'm so used to TV where you have like the 8 days and 8 days, at that literally the Marvel exec Zoe Nagelhout was like, "And you got to pace yourself," because I was coming in like every day with, "Okay, I got this, I got this, I got this," and she's like, "No, no, no, this is the time where we like come in, we talk for a little bit, we have coffee, we spitball some stuff. Like it's cool. You can like you don't have to make hard." And I was like, oh, "Okay, really? Okay, this is great." So like I'll never have a schedule that luxurious ever again. I don't think.
You
Yeah,
know,
no, I mean, it's funny though that even though that like we did have some days that were really crunchy, like it wasn't like once we got into production,
Oh yeah.
we we did a oneer in the Gary's garage that sort of got edited to be sped up, but that part was also like super technically challenging. And it felt like schedule wise was going to like melt everyone's brains just trying to like it was the suit construction, and so it was in stages, and so every like art department and it had to move along with us. It was very challenging, that one, schedule wise.
Yeah. And then we had a kid in it too. So you're scheduling around day night plus the phase of the thing plus the kid and all that. And they rebroke. I mean, they decided to re-break story on the one of the episodes when we were getting close to shooting. Not the whole thing, but they changed it enough that it was kind of needing to start over with some stuff in terms of trying to figure out how we were going to shoot stuff. So, but yeah, it was. I don't know. It's hard, but it was. I just had such a great experience on it. I really loved it.
Yeah, same. And it was funny because I had the same thing going in where people were like, oh, it's going to be, they just tell you what to do and you have to frame everything up just how they, and it was the most creative freedom I've had. I feel like we were so supported. And it was just helpful that we were like in a similar brain and like able to just take that and run. It was just really, really fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The hardest part, I think, is we had to tell Spencer, the AD, like if you see it, if you're one of your tell your team if they see us talking to listen and make sure we're talking about the shot, because they would see us, we would be done lighting and we would say, okay, we're ready, but we would still be talking about something else. And they think, well, they're still talking. So we won't interrupt them. And we're like, no, no, we said we're ready. We're just like, we're friends. We're just talking until you guys get the actors here, So like, it's nice. It's not very often you get to work. And Spencer's an AD, I've known him for years. He was my second million years ago. And now he does, big movies and stuff. And, it's just nice to be able to work with your friends.
Yeah. It's that for people getting into the business, I would say that's like one of the rarest and most lovely joys of this business is getting to be on set with dear friends. It's just like you can't compare. It's so different than just like I mean, it's wonderful what we do and like we're so good at meeting new crews, but like it's nice to get the band together. And yeah, Spencer was amazing.
well,
That
looking at the project more holistically, at both your careers, but also the project, representation is a key part of Ironheart, but also with you two behind the scenes being heads of department, what do you hope your collaboration on this project communicates to the industry and maybe, up and coming aspiring filmmakers?
Is that a look for me, Alison?
Either one. Sorry, I didn't set either of you up, but so yeah, anyone.
When I was when I was a second AD, I was working on a show and I overheard these two producers and they were talking about not hiring this Black woman director because this other Black woman director had done this other show and had not done it, just didn't go very well. And I'm like, Well, we just had like a white dude who shit the bed like 2 weeks ago, but we have like literally the entire season is all white dude directors. I don't understand what's going on. And that weighed on me because you feel this weight of, if I don't kill it, like I will ruin it for everybody behind me, right? But I realized very not soon enough that the trick is, when I kill it, they will never doubt hiring somebody who's female, hiring somebody who's Black, hiring someone who doesn't look what the normal typical director looks like or the typical DP looks like. And it's getting better. I mean, I used to come to set and people would think I was an extra. People would think I was the hairstylist. People would say, "Oh, you can't park here." And I'd be like, "Trust me, I can park here." I had to learn not to even argue with the people that say they can't park here and just leave my car. And I'll be like, "Someone will tell you it's fine. Trust me." That happens less and less. It still happens, but it happens less and less. So I think the more that, a lot of it is just opportunity, is giving somebody a shot. And that was part of what we said. And even hiring our department heads, we're like, we know you guys have a list, but part of the reason that list is mostly white and male is because you guys have a list. So bring us other people that are qualified. And sometimes we would pick the best person for the job was someone from the list, but a lot of times it was not the person on the list. And so to me, I think being very vocal, I think both me and Sam Bailey, the other director, and Chinaka Hodge, who's the writer, executive producer, we're all very vocal. And like, we're going to make sure to bring in as many people of color and women for heads of department for the interview, so we can at least meet them, and then we'll make a decision. Then the best person will get the job. So for me, I don't know. I think I proved that, like, people, it's like, it may not, and it's not always like the man trying to keep you down, but sometimes it's like you take your car to get fixed. And if like I show up to say, "Hi, I'm going to fix your car," versus like an old Italian dude, like, you're just not used to seeing it. Right. And you're like, "Wait a minute, this doesn't not what I'm used to seeing." And so it's fighting that, of like, the more times they see me, the more they get used to it. And now I see more and more. Now I have to wait for the bathroom on set sometimes. And I'm okay with that, because I came up in the 90s where there was it was me, there was the lead actor, and there was a lead actor stand-in, and there was like makeup. And that was it, like that was the only other women on set. So yes, I'll wait for the bathroom gladly if I can see more, more grips and electrics, more not typical, special effects department, DPs, more not typical female department members and department heads. I'm all for it.
I often get mistaken for the hair and makeup department, and also it takes usually the first week on a new show to like have most of the crew see that I know what I'm doing with lighting. Like, I feel like it's that same thing where people judge you based on other women they've worked with, whereas they don't, I feel like, do the same thing with men, where they're just like, "Oh, I worked with this one guy who was awful or a screamer, and therefore all men are like that." It's like they don't. But like, if there's anyway, what my pause was actually is like, I just feel like the business is changing so much right now, and I wish, because I'm mentoring a bunch of younger DPs, and it's like, I just don't know that there are opportunities. Like, the truth is, it's like, I feel like that it's like this chokehold at the top with budgets, and everything's going to other countries. And it's like, they're just like, in this country, there aren't the opportunities coming up, because part of what happened recently, before the strike, was that there was so much content being made. It's just like, there aren't the number of projects. Like, this group of women I'm mentoring, they like really desperately want their first TV series. And it's like, no one's getting that right now. Like, that I know anyway. I don't know.
Ever since the pandemic and the strikes and things, it seems like production has waned. Do you see that turning around anytime in the future?
Oh gosh, I hope so. I don't know. I don't, I think from what I've heard from friends who are producers, that the budgets that are coming out, they are like not made to be shot here because of labor costs. Like, they're like, they can go to London and make it for like a third of the price, or whatever it is, I don't know the exact math on it, but I don't know. I hope so. I think there's so many talented people.
Do you think, is it possible, and I'll flip this to you, Angela, that maybe that's an opportunity for indie filmmakers at all, do you think? Or people who are just scrappy trying to get things made? Or do you think that's possible?
I think it's possible for sure. I always say I can tell how the industry is going based on the meetings I'm having, and a lot of the meetings I'm having, stuff does not shoot here. Where before it would shoot here, it would shoot New York, it would shoot LA, it would shoot Atlanta, it would shoot wherever. And more the meetings that I'm having, for television specifically, I'm not sure if the ship has sailed. I think what's happening now, there's a little bit of a backlash where actors who have that kind of pull are like, I don't want to go to London with my family for a year. I don't want to go to New Zealand and all these places. So I think it's going to take like the A-listers to say something before stuff is going to come back. I don't think it's ever going to be where it was in 2019 ever again. But in terms of indie filmmaking, I mean, yeah, but there's also these other like verticals, and people like kind of make fun of them and stuff, is this whole thing that's taking off. And I really do feel that there is a opportunity. That's what I say that people who are like, I'm old enough that I don't think I have to worry about it falling apart before I retire, you know. But somebody who's in the middle, like they may need to figure out what's going to happen. But like the people that are just getting into the industry, my thing is like, y'all have an opportunity because you can make something that we don't even know was existing yet, that we need yet, and just jump on it. Like verticals, and having cinematic verticals versus these kind of like, you know, soap opera looking things that are, you know, super low budget things that are out there. Or, you know, I mean, that's the whole networking thing. When you're working with your friends, I mean, me and Alison knew each other. I mean, I met her as a DP, but she met me when I was a first. I met Spencer when he was the second. There's other people that I met when I was a second, you know, like the people who you network with, as you can all move up together, you know, like it's like what you reach out and grab them and pull them up with you kind of a thing. So like, I think as people get together and do these things, if one person hits, they can take the other people with them.
I think that that art is a very important thing for any society, and it's like now more than ever we need it to keep our soul, to keep our like. I mean, I feel like it's such an important thing culturally that I hope that it doesn't dissuade young filmmakers and artists from going into the business, because we need them, and we need people, all those voices coming up, because they're the ones going to make the new world. I mean, it's like yeah. So I think I don't know what the pivot is, or what if it is, you know, what the new technology is I mean, it's funny, I was looking back on something recently that was like from the mid-aughts about like, you know, and people sort of struggling with the whole digital cinema of it all, and like what's going to happen, is it going to be film, and like it feels so antiquated now, of course, to just be like, oh yes, that we didn't think digital was just going to take over was like hilarious sort of now looking back. But that it's, so I don't know. I agree that it's a business that reinvents itself, as do a lot of arts. And I don't know. I hope that production comes back, and I hope that you know, this country can still support artists,
Well,
filmmakers.
well, any pet projects you're looking for down the road? Angela, we'll start with you. Anything you want to work on next, that any type of genre or subject that you haven't been able to tackle yet that you're looking forward to doing?
Well, I mean, I have a heist movie that I wrote that it's kind of making the rounds right now that I'm really excited about. And then I'm just kind of I just came off of doing a couple episodes of Daredevil, which was fun. So now I'm just kind of like, it's always like this phase where you're just like, okay, now I have time to finish the stuff that I was working on. That's my stuff. And then you start to get antsy again. You're like, okay, I want to go get on the set again.
Allison, how
But
about
yeah.
you? What are you up to next?
I am looking forward to hopefully getting on I would love to continue doing more big VFX stuff. I mean, I had a ton of fun working with Greg Steele and his team on that, and everyone. And obviously, I'm excited about Angela's heist movie. And I've been working on photo books too. Like, I feel like just, you know, the thing about being a creative person is like, it's not like you can just turn off.
Right.
Like, that's how we relate to the world, is creatively. And so like, I feel like it's been a really nice outlet to just sort of to continue the communication and continue taking images. And also being in community with filmmakers and just talking about work and seeing movies together has been really fun.
Well, before we wrap up, Alison and Angela, why don't you each tell us how fans can follow your careers? Are you social media people? Is there a way people can follow what you're up to next? Alison, how about you?
I have I have two websites now. It's just AlisonKelly.net is the film one. And I am on social media, but I'm not like good at it. So I'm on Instagram at abirdk. Please follow me. I will try to interact with you as best I can, but I don't check it all the time.
Angela, how about you?
I do Instagram. I'm also not great at it. I'll kind of be like, people will be like, dude, you're supposed to put something up there. I'm at Love Angela Barnes. If people have questions, I'm usually pretty good. If they have a question, I'll answer it. If they hit me up in DMs, again, I also don't check them very often, but I'll answer questions. What I won't do though is I'll take pitches and stuff like that. Every now and then you get the weird unsolicited pitch or can you read my script, that kind of thing. I just don't have the bandwidth for. But if you have a question, usually I'll do my best to try to answer it.
Awesome. Well, Alison and Angela, it's been a pleasure chatting with you. And next time you're down Austin way, if you come down for South by or Austin Film Fest, you look me up.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
This episode is sponsored by Gemini Crown Tech, owned and operated by Stephanie Moore and Stephanie Harrison. We at Gemini Crown Tech have covered all your production management needs with our proprietary software. Please visit our website at www.geminicrowntech.com and use the code FMP for Filmmaker Mixer podcast listeners, so we know how you heard about us.
Thank you for listening to the Filmmaker Mixer podcast, a podcast created and hosted by filmmakers Jeff Stolen and Andrew Lamping and produced by Melody Lopez.
Our theme song was composed by Stephen D. Bennett.
Make sure to follow or subscribe on whatever platform you're listening to us on, and stay tuned for future episodes.